So we have quorum. I'll call this meeting to order. I think we'll start by introducing ourselves. I'm not sure who you know, but my name's Alan Foles. I'm the moderator.
Joe Carnahan, Finance Committee Chair.
I'm Melissa Murphy, Select Board Chair.
And now we'll turn it over to you. What are your interests? What made you apply for the finance?
Sure. I mean, I've been interested in continuing to help out the town. I've kind of been, taken on a few smaller roles previously, budget parent at Killam for a couple of years. I had the opportunity to get, some exposure to the finance side of things, particularly on the school side there. I've been a town meeting member for, I want to say, I think 6 of the past 8 years. When the redistricting was done, I came in 26th, and so I had a brief vacation.
Yeah.
And I was more recently involved in the superintendent search committee, and enjoyed collaborating with the group on that. And so really just looking for another avenue to kind of learn a little bit more and help out a little bit more.
Great. Joe, we'll start with you. Any questions?
Sure. So let's see. You kind of bring up the first 2 questions. What prompted your interest in finance committee?
Okay.
I guess maybe I'll ask, what prompted your interest in finance committee in particular?
I think from my standpoint, you get a good view of the whole picture. That's the kind of way I like thinking about the world, I guess, in my professional life. I do drug development, program management, and span all the different aspects of things. So I kind of like being in a place where I can look at the whole picture and see kind of what's going on across, and kind of take it all in, I guess.
It's a good place to do it.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue to my next question, which is what is your experience with managing scarce resources, doing prioritization?
So there's a fair amount of that in drug development. It's the same in terms of thinking about a big picture and trying to put things, figure out what, how to get everything to come together in a cohesive way. It's different in that the constraints are very different. I'm working in biotech. As a program manager or program leader, very often the question you get is, how can we make this go faster by spending more money? And that's not a question that really is necessarily going to be the type of thing that's going to fall here. So I think it's a different type of prioritization, but I think it's a related skill set, I guess.
So I'm curious if you've been watching any finance committee meetings or otherwise following what we've been up to, and if you have any feedback on what you've seen us do.
I've been watching sort of indirectly through kind of how things filtered into town meeting. I have to admit I haven't been online watching the week by weeks, unfortunately. And I've talked with Emily a little bit about kind of the role of the finance committee and some of her perspectives on it. And certainly looking at kind of, I thought it was particularly interesting to vote on, I guess, kind of form versus function to some extent in terms of Article 14 this year. And then I think thinking about where we are in terms of the line of free cash and what a 7% reserve looks like, and how those are on a collision course with crossing on most of the projection graphs. So.
And my last question is, do you have any ideas for how you think Reading could better make use of its money? If anything you've seen at town meeting that stuck out or anything else.
Nothing
say the perfect. Your current finance committee is perfect. I'm not going
to. No, I mean, overall, my gestalt is that things are well run, and as new things come up, we need to continue to put them into good process. Is sort of my impression at this point. I think it seems like there's been a lot of thought put into those kind of questions around big picture, even at the most fundamental level of the structure, the fact that it's accommodated cost and not like there's some other towns where they're doing things twice, once for the town and once for the schools. And so I think, that kind of thoughtfulness, and it doesn't look like there are any big areas for it, but I think it's the kind of thing we can all keep our eyes open for smaller areas of similar ilk.
Listen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate it. In your professional life, can you give us or tell us your experience in reviewing, managing, forecasting, or developing budgets, financial plans?
Yeah, so, as a drug development program manager, really, you're looking at, okay, what is this gonna look like at sort of three levels of granularity? And usually was partnered with someone from the finance committee, and so giving them a sense as to, okay, this is where we are quarter by quarter against what was in our original budget. Again, in a different sort of way, these are the places where we think we might want to go and ask the board for something different, those types of questions, and flagging those early enough that it can get through the governance process of a public company. And then looking down the road at what does the whole picture of this drug development program look like. So for 3 years, you're quite granular in terms of what the spend's going to be. And then you always have a model that, includes you all the way through launch and even a few years beyond, and, making sure that has a positive net present value and a reasonable IRR, the whole kind of piece in terms of making sure. And obviously, we're not looking at IRR capital returns here, but we are certainly looking toward a stable, continuous, ongoing picture for the town. And so I think it's a similar skill set. And obviously, you see that when you look at your the report on the warrant and things like that. You've got, okay, this is what we're putting in the budget for 27, and then you see, okay, we're thinking this is what we think for 28. You've got things like the capital plan and things like that. That's how we're kind of forecasting what large items are popping in that are one time, and what you're using as a tool to hopefully help smooth that in the context of the rest of the contract budget. So it's.
And then just another question, considering the state we're in and talking about an override, what do you think Reading's biggest financial challenges are going to be over the next 5 years? And how would you approach evaluating that? Its solutions, especially if an override does not pass.
Mm-hmm. But I think if an override doesn't, I think you kind of need to have a contingency for all of the scenarios. You can't wait until you get through that override process to decide what it's going to look like if it doesn't pass. You basically have to do double or triple the homework depending on how you lay it out. That's certainly a necessity of the situation. That's actually also, I think, important to the communication associated with an override. If you can't say to people, this is what the world's going to look like if we don't pass it, it's very hard to make a compelling case to suggest that it's probably in the town's interest to pass it. So.
And I think just the last thing clearly understand that we are going to be putting an override on the ballot, and, FinCom, I think, is going to be a heavy lift over the next several months, just to keep that in mind as well going into that. And that's something that you'll be able to accomplish with your professional life, your family life, and all that.
Yeah.
All right, I have a couple of quick questions that I ask everybody. First of all, you know of any possible conflicts in your job or other part of life with being on finance committee?
Okay.
No. Okay. And the second,
unless having someone who works in public education in a different town in Massachusetts, technically, they cross-reference and they say, oh, well, these are our peer towns and things like that. So I guess if you were to make an extremely convoluted argument, you could say that I have an interest in teachers being well paid because I'm married to one.
Yeah.
and the other question is, because it's not obviously today or in the near future, but if you should be appointed to someday consider a leadership role.
I hadn't thought of it, really thought about it in terms of that. I'm certainly not doing this because I have my eye on being the chair of the committee in X time or really, any other particular addition to the town. It's really just an opportunity for me, to give something back. We've been in the town a little over a decade. I really loved it, and then to learn more and maybe see if if there's another avenue as well for taking that contribute.
Yeah, it is a good place to see the big picture. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
For
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering. We appreciate it.
Yes, no worries.
Oh,
Anybody up there?
Look.
No.
So are you waiting for? Yeah, it's public, so you can hang out and watch if you like.
Best show in town.
Yeah.
oh, you're up too.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
So,
Hi.
Chilling in the hallway? You were chilling in the hallway?
Yeah. I don't even know.
You could have gotten a 5-minute head start on what the questions are.
Yeah, I don't need to.
I mean,
Yeah.
as if you didn't interview this past.
No on this, right?
Yes.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, so we'll give you the floor first. Well, you're already on the committee, but then what are your thoughts on this? What you See me going forward.
Yeah, I guess been on the finance committee for the last 3 years and it's been, I think, an experience just kind of see how the sausage is made. Then budget, kind of a different part of how the town government works. I think certainly the big issues going forward are going to be the current budget situation and the upcoming override and how we deal with a passing override or an override. Also,
Yeah. I don't see that. Joe, questions?
So my first, actually, you wouldn't have any questions because I have my common questions and I do have questions. So my common questions, what do you like about being on the finance committee?
I really like that there's kind of a good group, solid group of people on the committee currently. We have a lot of kind of different backgrounds, different points in our lives and times. There's people that have young kids that are still in school. There's people that are retired. There's kids who are out of school. So it's kind of a lot of perspectives that all get brought together.
So what opportunities do you see with the finance committee could improve?
Could be, I guess something that I feel like we don't get into enough is trying to understand the uncertainty within the town budget. We obviously hear the breakdown, and this is, the line item is our best estimate. We don't know what line items have the potential to be, way higher or way lower than those estimates versus ones that maybe are pretty solid on. This is what we're going to spend. So we kind of know salaries for different divisions in town. We have a pretty good idea of what's going to be. And sometimes people leave and save money or retire somebody a little bit cheaper, but we have a pretty good idea of what salaries would be. But things like snow removal or placing roofs that cave in or get hit by meteorites or whatever. You missed.
Thank God.
There's some that have kind of a wide potential range. And I think that I would like to see us try to do a better job of understanding, what the potential range of spending on different investments would be.
It's actually, I'll make sure to pass on feedback to the next year. So what do you like about how the town manages its money?
I like that we are conservative with how we manage our money. There's tend to overestimate how much things are going to cost, which I think is the way that my household also manages our money. I think we're trying to be intentionally conservative and assuming that things are going to cost more than so that you can be pleasantly surprised when they come in under. I think it's a lot better to kind of say we over budgeted and we have some money left over than to say oops, we under budgeted and now we can't afford whatever we thought we could buy.
And likewise, what do you see with the town to do better about how it manages its money?
So I think we have missed some opportunities for new growth the past few years. I think that finance committee is obviously not, we don't have a lot of say over zoning and bylaws, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity on those fronts to encourage new growth and it's added above that to matters.
I asked about the town, I asked about FinCom, and I asked about the town, so that's the right place for that answer.
Okay.
So that makes sense to me. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, what's that?
Thank you, John, for coming tonight. Do you mind giving me a little bit of what your professional background is that you bring to FinCom?
Sure. So I am currently the data analyst for the state's Housing Choice Voucher Program within the Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
Okay.
So I'm involved in government resource management. Right, I guess currently financial government resource management. Prior to that, I was a statistician with National Beneficiaries. We're doing government natural resource management. So kind of statistical analysis and data analysis.
Great. And then What do you believe are Reading's biggest financial challenges over the next 5 years? We know about the override, and how would you approach evaluating potential solutions?
So, so in my professional capacity, we are also facing budget issues. And the way we've approached it is that we're looking at kind of brainstorm a bunch of ways to save money. And then you have to look at not just dollar amounts that you come up with for how much XYZ to save, but also the number of your constituents that's going to be affecting negatively, the degree to which it's affecting them, and how burdensome proposal would be to implement. You could say, we have this great idea and it's going to save us, X millions of dollars, but there's no way. It's going to take 10 staff, 10 years to actually get this. So that's kind of like the overarching way that I look at it. I think there's, on the finance committee, we are not doing all of this analysis, so I think we're kind of relying on maybe town staff to bring some of those proposals forward, and then we can get crunch those numbers.
So I do think it's.
I generally ask 2 questions. You've been on for a while, so unless things have changed, it probably doesn't matter, but I always ask, do you have any known conflicts with the position?
I don't think so. I mean, I've been very cognizant of, I'm a state employee, called up the state ethics hotline several times over. Generally, I think involving MBTA communities came up. I called them up and I generally got the all clear. I think there's a couple of times where I put in, so there's 2 different forms for conflicts. There's the like for a national conflict one where you guys would have to approve me voting on that, and then there's the other one that's just here's the name of the form, but it's a reasonable person could think that this is a conflict. And I think it's CC'd, at least you guys,
Oh, yeah, no,
last couple of years, a few of those.
Alan and I have gotten these.
Yes, I think that previous chairs. So generally, as I've been advised, I cannot reach out to the state on behalf of the finance committee. I think so if like we were asking HLC for money to do, I can't be the one that signs the letter, ask them, I can't present on behalf of the state. And none of that's come up. I think I've been told if we're making a request from the state, I can write the letter. I just can't send it. Okay.
All right, the other question.
I don't pretend to understand these laws.
Yeah, I just go with the word.
We've been involved on the committee for a while now. Could you see yourself someday if called upon to head up the next year?
Sure, I mean, if asked, yeah, so I'm not going out of my way to have more on my plate the next couple of years. Yeah, I think so. I think we have got a lot of good experienced people on the committee, so yeah, if the group decided that I was the best person. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Kids are exactly the same age as my kids. You're smarter than me. So.
Any other comments?
Okay. Well, thanks again for.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for your time and put in on it too. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Mark, I see you hovering. Yeah. I was gonna say, you can come in, that's something that's interesting, the incumbents are like hanging out in the hallway.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
But you were on deck, so.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
This is,
I think you know everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you?
That's all good. Hey, so we'll give you the floor. What makes you want to come back? So again.
Still think I got a lot to give, so. I think 6 years now, I've learned a lot and sort of know the ins and outs. It does take a few years to figure things out, so. So that's my main reason. I think I still have a lot to contribute, so.
Joe,
Sure.
questions?
So, this is similar to Alan's opening question, but the first question I asked is, what do you like about being on finance committee?
Well, I think we make a difference, to be honest with you. And I like the group that's on it too. I think It's always been good the 6 years that I think we all get along. It's pretty civil in there. You know, it's, and, you
A
know,
lot of
it's,
fistfights.
yeah, it's very respectful. I think even, you know, there's times where we don't agree, but I don't think, you know, it doesn't ever get nasty. People respect each other, so it's been good. Yeah. Or I wouldn't want to be on it if it wasn't, so.
Any questions?
Is that answer next year? So we don't screw things up next year. What opportunities do you see where the finance committee could improve? How can we be better?
Maybe at I think we've done a little bit better at the job of this, but probably give a little bit more background on some of the warrants, what our thinking is. We've done a little bit of that, I think, this last spring, but, you know, probably a little bit more of that. I think that would help town meeting members, so. Because not everybody's watching the FinCom meetings, I'm sure, so.
Hopefully not.
For their sake, I hope.
Yeah.
All right, what do you like about how the town manages its money? It's a broader question, not just FinCom.
Well, I like that, that we've got substantial free cash, which is good. I don't think we're tight. And, yeah, I gotta say, you know, Sharon's done a good job. You know, investing has been good and, yeah, I think that, you know, the last override was quite a ways, you know, a while ago. So I think the town's done a good job there. Financially wise, if that's what the question was.
And then my last question is the complement of that one, which is, what do you see with the town could do better about how it manages its money?
Could do better. I would say communication, maybe. I think sometimes, I think people are caught blindly. It could be that people aren't paying attention to just, you know, it does seem like things happen and people don't, even like building a new school, there's some people who don't have a clue that it's going on. So, you know, I'd probably say communication and, you know, proactively.
Cool, thank you.
Listen,
Thank you for coming tonight, I appreciate it. Can you give me a little info of like what your professional life is and how you bring that to the board, like how does that cross over?
Well, I think, so my background was as a CFO.
Oh.
So I had, you know, and that's probably, I mean, I do see a lot that happens in town government that would never happen in industry. So I have to be patient in some of that. But I do think, you know, I'm done working, so I sold my company 3+ years ago, so. So I'm not working now, but I do some mentoring of people who are starting companies. So I, you know, that was my experience.
Yeah, no, perfect, that totally makes sense for me on that. And then the other question I had is, we all know about the override, that's gonna be in the ballot in November, but what do you think Reading's biggest financial challenges are over the next 5 years, and how would you approach evaluating solutions?
Biggest financial challenges, I think is, I would say it's budgeting and communication, I think. And we'll see it, you know, with the override talk, because I'm sure talk will come in of, you know, have we looked at expenses and so that'll need to be communicated. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge there is.
Thank you again for coming.
I'm curious, how long have you been on this year? 3 years or 6 years?
6 years.
So this is his last time around.
Actually, I was thinking coming in,
Yeah.
you know, the ethics stuff you gotta do,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, I'll probably have one more.
Yeah.
Weird, because he's right, it does take a couple of years to get up to speed.
Right. And segue into that, do you know of any conflicts you might have? I know you retired, yes, you know, but any business?
No, I have no conflicts.
Yeah, okay. And if the need arose over the next 3 years for a new chair, that's something that you would consider.
Yeah, that gets asked every time, so yeah, I would do that if asked.
All right. Any other questions? How about you? Any other comments?
No,
Well, thank you for,
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
yeah, thanks for offering.
Yeah.
all right.
See you. Pat. Step up. I think you probably know everybody.
I'm Joe. Joe Carnahan. How do you speak?
Finance committee.
It's Matt. I said you're tipping chairs, but really it's the
Oh, yeah.
tablers.
Gonna make a presence. Yeah, work behind you, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Worked out. The biggest mistake was the HUD, that shot close.
Oh,
My
that's fine.
shot,
Yeah.
last spot.
Yeah.
Had the best muffins in town.
That's amazing. I never worked there. It's amazing how much free time I got when she belongs there. All right, we'll give you the floor. What makes you come to finally, finance committee?
So, being retired, 10 years from the police department, getting more extra time, so, I was a town meeting member for 25 years back in the day. I'm a numbers type of guy and was, involved in the health insurance bargaining committee. I'm actually the retiree representative appointed by the town, by the state. And conserving that contract that we just signed with the town, we're looking at saving 3.9 million over the next 3 years. So I think it's gonna be a little bit more than that. We addressed that contract as we did when I was on the police department and the patrolmen's union, trying to get a fair and equitable contract. Something that's both good for the people that work in, but at the same time, working for the town has to have it. And versus the third part, which a lot of people forget when they're doing any of this stuff, is the taxpayers. And most of the town people that work for the town live in town, so it's a kind of a dual thing, but it comes back to that, being, like I said, a kind of a numbers guy. To me, the FinCom is always something that I was always interested in, but I didn't have the time, which I know. Something that what I do is that when I get involved with something, I need to have the time and right now is an opportunity opened up. I have time, my wife would certainly appreciate it, so kind of like your type of thing, you know, it's amazing how much, yeah. So the FinCom is probably one of the key components of the town, where everything goes through them. And I think we can keep the high crime rate that we have and continue to focus on moving the town in a positive direction.
Joe, questions?
So, my initial questions overlap with Alan, so I'm figuring if there's anything else that like I would ask about specific areas about town government, which you have expertise, understand you're a police officer about. So, is there any other area of town government that you've been involved in over the years?
We said town meeting for about 25 years. As far as being involved with the town, I mean, I coached a number of different sports. I was involved with helping to bring lacrosse to the town, which we're now celebrating our 25th year. Just dedicated the field to Charlie Hardy. So I got involved with that, and after a 3-hour meeting, I think Charlie said, anybody have any questions? I put my hand up. He goes, yeah, Pat, what is it? I go, what's lacrosse? You laugh, it's true. He says, you just had a 3-hour meeting and you're willing to help out, but you don't know what lacrosse is. I go, I have no idea. I grew up in East Boston, moved here in '73. I go, now, he goes, why do you want to help? Because if there's another way, and I was a community service officer at the time, I was the first community service officer in the department. We have a way of helping more kids get involved with the sports or something else, because there really wasn't a lot of type of things to do, you know, whether it's a bowling alley, I mean, in town type of thing. If there's something more that we can do to give kids more opportunity to get involved, I was all for it. So dove into that, and we were hoping to get 50 kids at the opening skills competition we had at the field house. We had 250 kids showed up. Phil Vaccaro walked in, said, "Phil, how's it going?" He went like this. He goes, "It's like I'm going to go into 2 more banquets coming the spring every year." So as you know, the program has taken off, and it's one of the most elite in the state. So that's not my fit team. I didn't coach. I don't do the game, but I did the athletic practice stuff.
So, my next question, which going down my list here, what is your experience with managing scarce resources, doing prioritization?
So related back to the police department, when budgets were tight and we actually had layoffs back then, and everybody's got to tighten the belt, and you have to do more with less, and to a point where you can't sacrifice safety of the people that are working or the safety of the public. So you have to balance that, and that's where I think you have communication with both the management part. So we did it with the chief on down, communicating what our things were, because we didn't have minimum manning in the contract, but we did have a minimum manning as far as to have people responding to calls. You had to have a certain number of officers out there, plus command staff to be able to oversee the shift. So and having a working relationship with management is important. So you provide the safety to both the officer, public, and the department. Reduce liabilities, so you don't have lawsuits and so on.
So, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any finance committee meetings, recent or otherwise, and I don't mind if you don't. But do you have any feedback on what you've seen the current finance committee do?
I did watch one when we were involved with the health insurance to see what that was, and I did get parts of one another time I was watching, but sometimes the audio and so forth, it's some of the meetings were
Some issues.
there were some issues there. So I tried to watch a couple of them.
All right. So, and then my last question is: do you have any ideas for how Reading could better manage its money?
I see some of the things that are happening now that happened back when I was first involved with town meeting and so forth, and shape of some of the buildings that are happening now are probably going to have to be readdressed. Like this building here, renovated back in 88, 89, probably needs to have something to. Let's not wait till the roof is caving in or whatever else. Let's try to be proactive about it. The senior center, let's not get rid of that. We may have to shift half of the town hall into there as a temporary office. Once the recal is up, but let's not be quick to sell something when we may need it. Things along that nature. Pearl Street School, perfect example. Was against it back in the day to sell it for $3.5 million. We could have renovated it. And then we sell it for $385. A couple of years later, we're building for $15, $18 million the Wood End School. So I mean, some of the communication between departments, I think, needs to be better enhanced when they need to know what their long-term goals are. At the same time, I think a lot of it comes through the FinCom, where the FinCom needs to be able to have a better idea on what the capital projects are that can really affect the long-term goals of the community.
Good, thank you. That's it for me.
Also, thank you for coming in, Pat. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. Always, I'm not listening. Can you give us, tell us your experience in reviewing, managing, or forecasting budgets?
Well, like I said, recently we just did the health insurance, and working with Jane, Sean, and Sharon. It was a different group of people, and I can comfortably say that if we didn't have that management team in place, that agreement would not have happened. It was, and the way we approached the negotiations was totally different than we had in the past. Usually, going into any negotiations, there's usually a laundry list. They give you a laundry list, it takes a couple of meetings, and then you get down to what you want to do. We started right off with presenting what we felt was a fair, equitable list of options. Both sides didn't get what they wanted, but at the end, the employees took on a greater burden by now having to do with the deductible program, which they hadn't had. And I was involved with when it was the old insurance advisory committee back in '86, so I was part of it way back when Peter first started that. Then when they turned into the PBC, I was the first president there, so I have a lot of history there, but a lot of people on the bargaining unit that we had experience with it. Working with the town team on what we had, we focused right away on what we can do to best, again, address all three areas. And we did that with that contract, and town was happy with it. The select board was, I believe FinCom, I don't think I had a chance to look at that. But I mean, between that and over 3 years, it's going to be a win-win-win for everybody, residents, employees, town, and that's how we like to be. We don't want to be at the top. I mean, you like to be at the top, but realistically, that's not fair. We don't want to be in the bottom. We've always tried to strive being in the middle in comparison to other communities of our size and our demographics. And this contract is going to get us there.
Thank you. As you know, we're gonna have an override on the ballot in November. What do you think Reading's biggest financial challenges are over the next 5 years? Do you have an approach to evaluating that and coming up with some solutions?
I don't think the override's gonna pass. I think like the Killen School project myself, I think that should have been done 5 years earlier. Just my own personal thing. I think that if there's a number that's presented correctly, and if I heard the other guys talk about communication is very important with the residents, but I think education is going to be a big part of it too. You have a higher senior population that's on fixed income, and overrides, as we know, are permanent. It is needed if it's done correctly. Having the Killen School with the senior center, which also is needed, both at the same time. And then afterwards realizing that there's some components that wasn't totally figured in there, that drives residents nuts. So we all have to do a better job in educating the residents on where it's happening and where it's going. But again, you have a very large senior population, which I'm part of that, but we need to keep the character of the town. I mean, that's when I got married, I stayed in town, my family grew up in town. It's a great town to raise a family, and a lot of people come here for that reason, and the population has grown. I mean, for 20, 30 years, it was around 22, 21,000. Now we're 25, 26, so we've had a jump in the population. People aren't coming here because they don't like it. It's a good community to be here. The schools, they're very good. Public safety, DPW, everything that makes Reading the community that we are is why it's there. And I feel I can contribute by being on the FinCom to continue that type of. That's how I go with it, so that's my theory.
My only other question was the big lift, but you said you're retiring. So.
My wife says too much.
I have a couple of questions. You're retired, so the first thing's probably important, but you know of any conflicts? I do not. Another is if the need came up this year or next year, the year after, but share was needed, would that be something you might step up to?
If it came to that and I was comfortable enough to do that, and I had the support of the committee, I believe in doing, your fair job when it comes to it, not jumping right into it, but I mean, you have to have the ability of knowing what the ins and outs are, committees are, and working with the different departments. So being chair is important, but we work with select board, other town officials and so forth, so it could be a smooth transition between.
Any other questions from? Anybody have any final comments?
No, I just think that the FinCom is probably one of the most important committees in town. And I think a lot of people really don't realize how much work goes through the FinCom. So like when people ask me, "Look, why do you want to be on Fin?" You go, "What do they do?" It's like, you don't know what FinCom does? It's like, but again, it goes back to the education part. So thank you for an opportunity, everybody.
Well, thank you for
Thank you
offering.
for having
For
me.
our
Appreciate it.
Good night.
You too.
Mr. Beck.
How are you?
Yes.
Yes, I was here last year.
Yeah.
I do every. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So what was you start then?
Sure.
Introduce yourself and tell us your interests.
Sure. So Chris Cook, live on Grove Street. It's my second time in front of the appointment committee. Obviously, after last year not being successful, I did join the Commissioner of Trust Funds, wrapping up my first year of a 3-year term there. It's been fun. Since I moved to Reading, I've tried to get on town meeting past couple of years, unsuccessful, so I'll keep trying. In some prior towns that I used to live in, I was a finalist for retirement board at the Andover and Somerville years past. Also an applicant for the finance committee, did not get on there. But spent the last 20 years of my career in banking or banking regulation, mostly on the regulatory side. I worked for the Division of Banks for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, manager in the office. And obviously, like to work on the Commissioner of Trust Funds, definitely a sleepy board, it's a little quieter. And obviously, the finance committee is probably, the most impactful board next to the select board, where you can actually make a difference and serve and really review some high-level topics. So interested to get my feet wet in that committee.
Great. Joe, questions?
So let's see. Okay, so I know you talked about your background and your, current committee and so forth. Are there any apart from some income in particular, are there specific areas of town government in which you have interest or experience? Direct town government. No, I haven't worked for a town. I've certainly attended a ton of select board meetings. Few FinCom. I stick to mostly the AI recaps. Obviously, these go very long. Late at night, I have 2 kids. One's 3 on Thursday. The other one's 3 months. So that shares up the run back meetings. Is all I can say. It's 9 people, so it's heavy stuff, that stuff. I understand, but and obviously now working in community trust funds, I've had more interaction with our town treasurer, kind of getting the lay of the land of the $22 million we have in trust funds. That honestly, I hope the town gets a little more visibility for that, because I think obviously with tough budget times, I think we can tap into some of those resources for some needs in the future. The old hospital trust funds are growing at an astronomical rate. You can't spend the money fast enough. So other than that, no, and obviously just continuing to just keep an eye on meetings or budget documents. So then next question is tell me about your experience with managing scarce resources or doing some kind of prioritization. Sure. So at the Division of Banks, obviously, depending on what administration's in charge, we have budget issues. I can recall during a prior administration, we had significant budget control put in place. We had FTE caps. So obviously, even that wasn't part of the decisions on slashing expenses or increasing revenues, because we paid by assessments. Obviously, with FTE caps, you have to basically be told do more with less. That's what we did. So we obviously tried to gain as much efficiency as possible on the job, and obviously managing budgets from a human capital standpoint on examinations and things like that. So fortunately, I don't have any direct impact on the budget, but luckily enough, we are paid by assessments and not taxpayers. So we do have a little bit. So do you have any feedback on what you've seen the current activity do? Obviously, the meetings can be tough to watch in person. But I think what I would say, kind of feedback, I think, is prior conferences is more information is better, and information that is visually appealing for the average resident, because obviously reading a 198-page PDF is difficult. And those without a financial acumen, even basic level, have struggle to understand, like, where does the dollar of my taxes go? What percentage goes where? Debt service, health insurance. And I've seen some other towns kind of use open checkbook or other Tableau data visualization tools that, obviously these budget videos that come out were pretty
not bad. But having more interactive tools, I think, would be helpful, especially with what we all know is coming later this year with the convergence of, an override number, the debt service coming on for the projects and possible CPA vote. So trying to really explain to everyone the numbers behind that will be key.
And do you have any ideas for how you think Redford could better manage its money?
I think a few things. Obviously, the select board did a big step with the agreement with the PEC, because obviously health insurance is one of those budget numbers that rises well above inflation in 2.5. So anything you can do to reduce costs on that directly and spread the costs on that. I think the next big one, I think I mentioned last year, was kind of our pension cost is another one that routinely exceeds the 2.5 limit. So I believe the retirement board did kick out their schedule 1 year, which does provide some breathing room. But I think doing something like, or considering a pension obligation bond, taking advantage of borrowing rates being below the discount rate, creating an arbitrage to save more money on a monthly basis, which again is going to be key when we're facing a relatively large override number, and the alternative is if it fails, layoffs are absolutely on the table. There's no question. Boston's looking to lay off 400 teachers. Somerville's looking to lay people off. You see dozens and dozens of overrides mostly fail across the state and having to go back to the voters a second time. So I think that's the other big one. And obviously, someone brought up a good point about new growth. Outside of direct revenue from current sources, having a economic and business environment in this town that's competitive around the area and regionally is going to be key if you want to attract new investment to provide new revenue that does not increase marginal cost to your tax base.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Carmen and Chris? Same question I've kind of asked everyone else. Can you give us your experience in reviewing, managing, forecasting, or developing budgets and financial plans, and how that will allow you to contribute to income?
Sure. So from a professional standpoint, my role in the prior past when I was bank examiner is obviously reviewing banks' projections, financial projections, budget plans, which is a core part of the job. So I've had a lot of experience over the years looking at 1 and 3 and 5 year projections, criticizing management boards when necessary, really attacking assumptions if I had to. And obviously in the past, during my time in prior towns, again, spending a ton of time on town budgets, really understanding sources of revenue, source of top expenses, obviously accommodating costs for some of this we can't control, some we can't. So I've obviously been involved with that, and obviously just personal budgets, sacrifices that have to be made. I am a state employee. I did not get a cost of living adjustment last year, and all my costs went up. And you just have to make do, unfortunately.
What do you believe, besides we know the overrides on the ballot, but what do you believe Reading's biggest financial challenges are over the next 5 years, and how would you approach evaluating some solutions?
I don't want to say it is tied to the override, but in theory it is, because if we don't disclose and provide information that this override is going to be worth it, and also how you have to be really clear the next 5 years when the next one will be, or we're going to stave off the next 5 years. The projections really need to be really tuned up, and I think whether it be by policy or by structural motion, I think the direction needs to be given to the select board or town manager that we should probably never build budgets again using free cash continuously, because once you use it once, it just continues to grow and puts us in a situation. So I think it would be a good selling point to say, yes, we're going for 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever the number may be. However, to hopefully avoid this in the future or within an extended time period, we're going to commit to keep our cash reserves at this level and not build the assumption we're going to use free cash to pay for operational expenses. I think that kind of policy needs to be either implemented or at least spirit followed. And I think that would really show the town that the finance committee, town meeting, select board is on board of keeping our budgets as tight as possible going forward. But we all know the cost side continues to rise well above 2.5% growth. It's just unfortunate. And maybe it does mean we have an override in 3 years, but maybe it's only $100 million. Maybe it's 500,000. Maybe if we have the type of projections that clearly show, yes, this is the number this year. We know in year 4 it's going to be this. Be prepared. We understand this. We're trying to accommodate it. So disclosure as much as possible.
And the last question I have is that with the override coming up, income's going to be probably a heavier lift with some more meetings. Is that something you think that will be trickier?
No, I think I can handle it. I have a pretty flexible work schedule, and obviously I assume I'd have to resign from the Commissioner Trust Funds with this appointment if that was the case. So that's obviously one less meeting to get into, but I think I can accommodate between work kids and soccer. Everything like that. So obviously I know it's a lot of work that goes on, many hours that goes on behind the scenes other than FinCom meeting time. Building a bunch of messages, reviewing documents and working with the town. So confident I can make it work.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming into the issues.
I know you work for the state, do you have any conflicts that you know of?
No, I think same as last year, I obviously I follow the SEC ethics commission rules. I have a specific conflict of interest policy with the banks, and I've had to kind of conserve with the commissioner trust funds, but there is no conflict. Obviously, I'm not signing any bond offerings or anything, so that's the only thing that could be an issue.
And if you should get appointed sometime far up in the future, we're not talking this year, next year, would you consider taking leadership role?
Yeah, definitely. I think moderate to long term. I think near term, obviously, it takes multiple years to get up to speed on the process of this, how this FinCom operates and interacts with town meeting as compared to other towns. And obviously, I don't think it'd be fair to want to try to be chair or too. And obviously, in the future, if I support the other FinCom members, I would ask.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, thanks all from you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for offering your time. All right, good night. Folks. Or. Go everything, right? I do.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us what brings you to.
Yeah, fine. So, Kelsey Kresge, I live in 3 Harriman Avenue, a couple blocks down. I've been in town for about 6 or 7 years. At this point, I've also volunteered as other committees, including the climate committee, as well as the library landscaping committee and the town meeting, which I'm a campus volunteer position. The reason I'm interested in FinCom is because it'll give me an additional, it's kind of a personal reason, it'll give me additional insight into how the town actually operates. I'm already involved with like working away what the town is spending the money on during the town meeting. Might as well get additional insight into this as well. And I'm also kind of excited about the challenge, especially upcoming, right? This is a new thing for me, like this general topic. I have not done finance work in town in the past, so I enjoy learning new things and doing new things. And lastly, I think this will allow me to also just keep on contributing to the town as I have been for since I've been here. So that's my interest in a little bit of a background.
Thank you. So, questions?
Alright, so let's see, so, I know about your previous, interest in town government and what you've been able to fit in so far. Tell me more about what's your experience with managing scarce resources and doing prioritization?
Yeah, that's like a daily life for me. So I work as a defense contractor and I work on projects that have very tight deadlines, very tight budgets. So it is on a daily basis when we're balancing things, we're balancing personnel and trying to make sure that we execute correctly based on what I would say in this case the customers need. So we're writing that would be the residents, in my field that's the US government. So there is a need for continuous discussion and make sure that all things that are necessary are being able to be hit with within a reasonable time frame.
Do you have any feedback on what you've seen the current finance committee do?
Yeah, I think that you folks do a great job of trying to communicate with the town. You certainly generate quite a lot of information, but I think it can be very intimidating for folks who are not plugged into it as much as you are. There's a lot of jargon, it's very rapid fire. So the cost of entry, the barrier of entry to understanding what is actually happening is fairly high. I think that an improvement can be made if you were to distill some of the complex information. I think it's already been mentioned by a couple of individuals thus far. If you could distill it such that a regular resident who is not spending 3, 4, 7 hours a night at a meeting is able to comprehend this. This is something that I do at my work quite often, although it's not focused on the finance side of things, it's more focused on the technology side of things.
then more broadly than the finance committee, do you have any ideas for how Reading could better manage its money?
I think we've done a pretty good job as a town. We've pushed off override for exceptionally long amount of time. I think that long-term investment is something that I see this town lacking. I feel as though we tend to kick the can down the road and it ends up costing us a little bit more. And this is all wrapped up in the same thing, but I think the problem stems from us being very hesitant to put money down for long-term investment because we're afraid of what the residents might think. We're afraid of scaring people, telling them that their taxes will go up. And I think that also stems from our inability to properly communicate with the residents and being able to distill these complex multi-page financial reports to something that I can easily digest in 10 minutes and make a decision of, you know what, I will be supporting this up and coming thing because it will end up saving us money in the long run.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, we appreciate it. How will your professional life and FinCom overlap? Do you have any overlap in those, or what will you bring to FinCom from your professional life?
So in my professional life, I do work with budgets quite a bit. At a high level, the US government will state a problem and I devise a solution.
Okay.
And that solution looks technical, but I can't just deliver that. That doesn't exist yet. So I have to come up with a plan how to do that. So that does involve me sitting down, writing out a lot of different tasks that we go into executing that, assigning people to those tasks, and assigning budgets to those tasks. I don't know a lot of the line items individually, so I need to go out and then discuss this with other subject matter experts and pool their information to this larger sort of response to proposal effectively. So I'm accustomed to having in-depth discussions with people from different domains, and I'm comfortable sort of navigating those avenues.
You kind of answered the second question about, your experience with reviewing, managing and forecasting budgets, because that kind of sounds like it all kind of goes together when you make those plans to come up with a solution for it. Okay. Besides an override, we all know it's coming. What do you believe Reading's biggest financial challenges are over the next 5 years, and how would you approach evaluating some solutions?
Yeah, I think the thing that we're constantly struggling as a town is the lack of revenue from non-residential taxes. We do not have a very large commercial base. It would be awesome to see it expand. However, that comes into sort of like a trade space where then we also have to conscientious what kind of changes we're implementing to expand that commercial base. So some folks would prefer to keep this down, small, not change the character of it. And I'm not saying that expanding that base would, we could be smart about it, you can be proactive about it. But I think balancing that is going to be kind of difficult. And also maintaining engagement with the residents. So we'll hopefully pass this override, right? If we don't pass it this year, it's going to hurt and pass it eventually. Being able to continue communications with the residents. So we've passed the override, great. What are we now spending money on? What are the things that would be in jeopardy in the future? I think that's one way to people in and give them an opportunity to be more engaged. If you let them know what is potentially on the chopping block, because there's always going to be something on the chopping block, and it's going to adversely affect some residents. They should be aware of it, even if it's farther down the line, years down the line.
Great. With override discussions, FinCom's gonna be a heavier lift, I think, than normal, but that would be an issue for you to commit to that.
Oh, I'm accustomed to staying down.
That's I think that's a hit to you. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for coming, and I appreciate it.
Couple of quick questions. I've been looking at the resume, so probably know the answer, but do you know of any known conflicts in you?
No, there really shouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't see. And the other is, if you could get appointed sometime off some, the need rose or a chair, would you be interested in that? Would you take the job?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's how I ended up being the chair of the finance committee. I didn't ask for it. I just, after a prolonged awkward silence, was the only one. Similarly, for the writing, for the library landscaping committee, when we started that first year, there wasn't really anyone who volunteered to be the chair, and so I ended up stepping up. It was a good exercise. I get to learn quite a bit. So no, I wouldn't really have any issues being the chair, but I've never seen it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments from you? Are you all set?
I'm all set. I appreciate you folks.
We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank
You too. Very good. Sure you know everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll start with you. Just what brings you back? Sure.
Well, I've written some notes. Thank you. Moderator Folds, Chair Callahan, Chair Murphy. I'd like to give you some reasons why I think it would be good to reappoint me to the Finance Committee for my final term. I kind of have 5 key points I can elaborate. The first is, I think especially given the issues that are facing the town, it's important as much as possible for stability and knowledge on the Finance Committee. I believe I have a proven record of dedication to the Finance Committee. My attendance is perfect, other than the one day I missed, the day after my father passed away. I've tried to go beyond. I had time in the past on the ARPA committee. I served as vice chair. I'd be willing to serve higher. Last year, I didn't want that role because I had started a new job and also because of health issues in my family with my parents. So I have more time now, but at that last year, I didn't want to go. I served as vice chair, but I needed to take a break from that leadership. So I think I have a record of commitment, reliability, and service. I believe it's important at this time to have members of the Finance Committee with experience with writing budget cycles. I've been through at least a half dozen of them. I understand, between working on ARPA and on Finance Committee, our financial structure and how the town runs, what things have to happen, what things are optional, what are the challenges we face. Alluding to my job, and probably getting ahead to answer some of your questions. I'm in a job where I'm managing a share of a $20 million legal budget, for which we were told this year we had to cut 40%. So every month I'm reviewing outside counsel bills. I'm looking how to streamline spend, execute my share. We have 17,000 patents, a bunch of attorneys. I manage about 1,000 of patent families. So knowing what we can spend, knowing what we can take on, our business is the customer. So I deal with those kinds of things and significant cuts already in my daily life. I think with the serious financial challenges we're facing, as many people as we can have with institutional knowledge is important. I've lived in this community for 25 years, so I've seen a lot of things come and go in Reading, a few different town managers. I've been on town meeting since 2015, so I've seen how that goes. I agree with some of the things I've heard a couple of people before me, that I think we need to improve our communication to the community. In my first term on Finance Committee, I worked with former member Jeannie Borowski to try to improve the FinCom website and have direct links to budgets and some simplified information. I think we can be the link to some of the override questions coming up with what happens, to really kind of explain what we've said in the forums, that, the accommodated costs, health insurance costs. I respect that many in our community are facing similar challenges in their home life with their own insurance. And the more we can analogize things to their kinds of budget and what they're seeing, they will understand. But that's another challenge I think we face, which is Reading is a very diverse community. We have people that can afford 20% increase in their property taxes without a blink. And other people where even the CPA increase of another 100 a year, 150 a year would be overwhelming. That's why I was one of the people, the only person on FinCom who voted against CPA. Not that I don't favor what it does, but that I wanted to take a pause in favor of let's do what we have to do first. But I'm still open to it, but we have to respect that we have a very diverse community. So, and finally, I've really enjoyed being on FinCom. I like getting to see all the other boards, and I think whether you're starting off volunteering for the community or whether you've been in a long time, it's the best board. We get along great. We've been trauma-free. I think I hope to continue that. So that's my spiel.
Joe, questions? Yes, so, let's see, what do you like about being on the finance committee? It's literally the last thing you said. So let me go on to my next question, which is what opportunities do you see with the finance committee for growth?
I think we need to add to our website. We haven't done that in a while. And again, it's probably gonna be linking to the override. I think it was Mr. Cook who mentioned the open checkbook, and that may involve a fee. Like, I don't think the town can just do that. But something analogous, even to have it so that someone doesn't have to go to a link and look at the budget, because yes, the link is there. Who knows how to read, as someone here said, to a 200-page PDF. We need to do it in a page. I mean, even people are looking at things on their phones. I don't know if we can summarize important things on their phones, but it ought to be at least just a page, something, just a snapshot, right? And I don't think we've had some emails and there's been issues about emails, but I think people don't feel free to contact us as much as other boards. Maybe that's good or bad, but I don't know if we haven't like the idea of an open office hours once a quarter, but maybe a chance other than the finance committee forums, which usually it's just us and select board and school committee and the 10 or so diehard people who always come in at every meeting. Like if it's, open hours a couple of times a year for people to ask questions of the finance committee. We can try it once and see what happens.
I need to ask this like where their office hours go, for learning from that. Cool, so what do you like about how the town manages money?
I like the creativity of Sharon. I think we'd be in a lot of trouble without her. I like how the new town manager is also, for example, to ways to save money. And I think I appreciate that they keep doing more and more, less and less. And I like that. And I think we run a lean machine. But I think also, for example, with the recount project, having to tell everybody, okay, not only did your tax is gonna go up 800, but now we need between the Killam and senior center side of it, we're gonna need $1 million more in operating expenses. When I've talked to people with that, it's approximately $1 million. People are shocked. I've looked at things like, well, we have to hire 2 more custodians. Are we gonna have to tell them, well, we have this new building, but the override doesn't pass, we have to close at weekends? Like, I feel like the town, when we had a project like that, we could have done a better job projecting out operating costs to people. I don't know that it would have changed it. And it's not as egregious as like what happened, I think, with the previous override when it didn't pass the first time, and people, it was so close to the library expenses and people felt like, oh, you weren't telling us these things. I don't know, there was a few reasons why that override didn't pass. I think we have better grounds now, but we have a really short term, which I already expressed in the financial forum. It bothers me. I think it's a short time to educate people. When I look at what happened when we had the yes for Reading. So, but I think the town's communicating better than it was 8 years ago. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, you jumped comments, that answers my question and half answers my next question, which was, what do you see that the town could do better about how it manages its money? And you talked about communication, operating.
Yeah, I
expenses,
think thinking things out fully, not like, yeah, we're working on that kind of thing. I think everybody, but we're just being honest if they don't have the answer, I guess. There's some things that are gonna be unknown, but people who think things through, especially if you've lived here a while, you say, yeah, there's gonna be costs with that. I think we've been good with the library that we renovated it, but I don't know that the cost went way up. That was an example of a good change that the library budget, scaled appropriately, not a big change.
You mean the operating budget?
The operating budget,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, the library itself went high, but I mean, the operating budget,
Yeah,
is big.
It's been pretty well made too.
Listen,
You've answered a lot of my questions already, but like I've asked the others, what do you think our biggest financial challenges over the next 5 years? Then do you have an approach to coming up with a solution or a potential solution?
I agree with Mr. Playowski that there's an issue of balancing growth with the small town feel that people want. But we're gonna be constrained because there just isn't much left to develop. And, we have the Eastern Gateway, but that's also the Eastern Gateway is crossing a railroad track and it's just the DPW, that I don't think that's the answer that everyone hopes it's going to be. So I think we have to decide. We're gonna have to decide what's important to us and what nice to haves do we want, because not everyone's gonna pay for them. And we're lucky I love pickleball, but I love the idea of retail. There's a lot of people that just said those aren't as essential as some of our services. We got those. Are we gonna take on another big recreational or public works project? Or do we kind of just say, let's keep trying to pay for what we have? I think we have to decide what we want. Because what are we comparing ourselves to with services and balancing the small town feel, or if we want these other things to pay for them. So I just don't see the growth potential unless we really want to change what we are as a town. So, and I think that faces a lot of towns, not just us. But we're not North Reading, we don't have a lot, we're small, we're very built up. So I think that's the challenge. I think that we're just gonna keep facing these overrides. Paying more and more for the same amount of stuff. So we just gotta keep what we have desirable.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
I'm gonna put your hat in the card, your name in the hat, for God's sakes.
This is our last one, thankfully.
Yeah, I know you have.
We're running right next to
Well,
you.
not the last one, there's one on the 24th.
Right, our last one tonight.
Tonight,
We have to rest up.
But thank you for coming.
and one quick question, you barely answered one of them, but do you have any known conflicts in your other life?
No, the only thing is my company might sell parts to RMLD, Schneider Electric. I have no direct involvement. My side of the business doesn't deal with that. I profit with nothing. If anything came up with a vote, say FinCom needed to go into its reserves so that RMLD could buy some switches from Schneider Electric, and then I'd recuse from that. That's about the only thing I could think of.
That would also be super duper weird.
Yeah, it would be, because I don't think RMLD has ever come to FinCom for our
That would
reserves.
be.
We'd be going to them for money.
All right, well, any last questions? Anybody? Any comments by? Well, thank you.
No, I
Thank you for all the time
appreciate
you've put in for this.
Yeah, I know, it's hard to know, it's the last
the last
term.
term, yeah.
Fine.
I didn't realize FinCom actually had.
It's the
uh,
only
term
thing in
limits.
town that's term limited.
Yeah, I didn't realize
And
that.
how many, there's not that many members that have gone all the way to 3 full term. Ed Ross is gonna be, I think, Paula Perry in the past.
Yeah.
Not sure if Mark Doxer got to 3,
Mark did all three, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
and
realize.
just some people just
Cultural council.
get on for a year and then
Oh,
move on.
that's right, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Another weird.
Yeah. That's the state.
But thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Marianne, appreciate it.
All right, well, that wraps up our interviews. One of the quick piece of business we have is we run over. It's. Comment on, we have a motion.
Motion to approve minutes from the June 12th, 2025 meeting.
Second. Okay, any comments on that?
Right, we don't have to do a roll call because we're all here, so all in favor of accepting the minutes, raise your hand, those opposed, the motion carries. Now I need a motion to adjourn, second. All in favor of that adjournment, raise your hand, those opposed, this meeting stands adjourned until.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
And a little, I think related to, the IP correctly and out to you.
Anybody that I think is related.